In those days we were single, and we lived them one by one. Now we hardly see them, they don't walk, they run. But I got plenty left, I've set my sight on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon. I've been left for dead before, but I still fight on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon.
Good evening, and welcome to the first night in a special series. Signature Sounds is celebrating 25 years, and we're going to have a whole winter full of live stream shows featuring artists from the label. For this first night, we're taking it all the way back to the beginning with Rani Arbo and Daisy Mayhem. We'll begin with an interview recorded at the Parlor Room, then a set of music, which was recorded at my house in Whately back in October, where the original label offices were. Please welcome Rani Arbo and Daisy Mayhem.
Well, here we are live at the Parlor Room, home of Signature Sounds for the last 8 years or so, talking with Rani Arbo and Daisy Mayhem. And thanks you guys for stopping by.
Thanks for inviting us over.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah.
Ronnie and Andrew were with us since the beginning with Salamander Crossing from the very early days. Our first chance meeting, which happened at the Franklin County Fair. I don't know if you want to tell your version of it or my version of it.
My recollection, maybe yours, was that we finished our set, and we actually had just finished recording the CD, our first CD, and you came running across the field to us and like, who are you? Or, we just started talking, and you were just so enthusiastic, and we were kind of totally, we just felt flattered right off the bat.
That's basically my version too.
Okay.
I recall, I was at the Franklin County Fair. I was working at the radio station at the time, WRSI, when it was in Greenfield, and they made us broadcast live the entire length of the Franklin County Fair, which was 4 days.
Including the wrestling?
Torture.
Wow.
But anyway, I recall being on the midway, and you're on the midway of the fair, you're hearing, Britney Spears or Baby's Got Back or something. But then I remember hearing this beautiful harmony singing. You guys were singing, you did a version of Bruce Cockburn's Child of the Wind.
Right.
Which you guys kind of did as an up-tempo number. He did
That's
it as
right.
kind of more of a ballad.
Right.
It was beautiful harmony. I'm like, where is that? It was literally like, where is that music? Where is that coming from?
Interesting.
And so I walked through the fair, and found your stage, and then I accosted you then.
You know what I love about that story, though, is that, that to me is how you have led Signature all these years. You're just like, what's that music? That's awesome.
Where's that music coming from?
Yeah. And then it's just your love of sound and your love of discovering new things that has made this record label have so much life.
Yeah.
And be such a good place for musicians to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you were on our very first record, because at that time, we were putting together an album called Homegrown Holidays, which turned out to be the very first thing we ever put out.
That's right.
I was working with Johnny Memphis and Mark Thayer to do a benefit album for the food bank. This was 1993, so it was actually a year before we started the label.
Right.
93.
Right.
So
Is that the one where you told us we had 3 weeks to write and record a song?
Yes.
Yes.
And you did.
And we did. Yes, we did a version of Dona Nobis Pacem with some lyrics about being parents, which we weren't at the time. But we've been together so long as a band that we've now all been parents, and so that was our imagined beginning, I guess.
So we put out a couple of Salamander Crossing albums. It was actually the second album, other than the compilations, that we put out on the label. The first one, the self-titled one, and then Passion Train.
And that was Passion Train was the last one we put out on cassette.
That's right. I tried to find the cassettes today so I could hold one up, but
That's how old we are.
back then, nobody had CD players in the cars. That's how long ago it was.
Right.
You had to have the cassette to play in your car.
People had CD players in their cars?
Depending on the vintage.
When was that?
Your old Studebaker needs to be updated.
So then I was thinking the other day about the last Salamander Crossing album, which was Bottleneck Dreams, which was kind of the first album in the history of the label where we sort of got a real producer, Colin Linden, who was like a real known quantity, and you
Nashville.
You guys went away to Nashville to make your record. That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you remember? about
Doghouse
that experience?
Studios. Well, I remember that we went to this tiny little studio that Dolly Parton had recorded in. And that was a big deal for me because I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan. And I remember that our engineer
It was her studio. She owned it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and she had little pamphlets for her wig company. She sold wigs.
Of course you did.
Of course she did.
But it was a real learning process for us. You know, we to travel and do that together and work with a producer for the first time.
Yeah.
And have that hand in the project, which as every band who's ever recorded among themselves or with a producer knows that recording brings out a whole different thing. So to just sort of have these ideas that sometimes like expanded our idea of what we could do, and then sometimes were something we're like, well, no, that's not really us. So let's kind of find a way through this. And it was really exciting. And also just, to have the sounds that they got out of the band, the microphones and the setup were just so beyond anything we'd had before.
Yeah, they went to tape.
They did.
And they had a Nashville
2-inch
guy
tape.
who was really a very good engineer, and we watched him splice and do all that. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, that was old school.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, so many firsts. Ronnie and Andrew, you were also our first band to break up.
Oh, yeah. How was that for you?
After, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking because I love Salamander Crossing. You guys were our first band that was sort of getting a national profile. You were starting to tour out there and everything. And then you up and broke up.
We did.
It happens with bands sometimes, every now and then.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you picked up the pieces and you kept going. Tell me a little bit about that process. Was there ever a chance you were going to scrap it all together? And
Oh, yes, absolutely. Andrew and I had some long talks. And I had some long talks with myself. Because it was painful. You know, it was really painful. And, but we decided that that we really wanted to keep going, and that one of the ingredients for us being able to keep going was to take a breath and not take it as seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that meant a lot of different things. It didn't mean that we didn't want to tour or be professional. It meant that we wanted to inject it with more joy and a little bit less hardcore ambition,
Right.
maybe.
And
We
it was
wanted-
like this idea of like it's not music's not our life. It actually fits into our life.
Yeah.
Was the change.
And I think,
we
you
had.
know, it's true that is often a thing in bands that breaks people up. People have different ideas of where the band fits into their life,
Yeah.
where they're going with it. And then if you have different opinions about it, you get it, you know, it's hard to coexist. So that was one of the things we really talked a lot about before we launched Daisy Mayhem. And then when we did, we had almost a whole year of pretending that band existed before it really did. Like we went to Folk Alliance, which is a big, you know.
You did.
I went to Folk
didn't.
Alliance. That's right. I went with Scott Nygaard and Jim Henry as my bands.
And I
Just for
had two babies, so two little
couldn't
kids.
come.
So that was a big tug.
So we pretended we were a band, and it was great. It was great to play with those guys, and we got some shows, and then we ended up pulling this band together shortly afterwards. But I remember also that Folk Alliance conference rooming with Louise Taylor, who gave me quite a few pep talks. So some of that is due to Louise Taylor.
Well, and you can, you know, Ronnie and Scott was playing in his band, so they'd spent all this time on
That's
the
right.
phone, you know, touring at different times and not seeing each other as much. So that was a really important shift
Right.
for them.
My
And
band
then
was
Scott knew
breaking up.
Anand.
My band broke
right
up
now,
at the same
Scott,
time.
let's talk about that a little bit because when I first met you, you were part of the Ben Swift band.
Right.
With Ben Gundesheimer, now known as Mr. G.
Yeah.
And they were playing 200 shows a year, those guys. They were so...
out of the back of a van on
Busy.
the eastern half of the U.S. It was just nuts.
And as I recall, it was guitar, drums, and trombone.
Yes.
Right? That was the lineup of the band.
Yep.
Kind of a funk.
power rock
yeah,
trio.
original rock jam band thing, and it was a blast. We had so much fun playing. but we sort of crashed and burned around the same time that Salamander Crossing was crashing and burning, and I went up to go see one of your last Salamander Crossing shows up in Waitsfield, Vermont, and after that show there was a jam session at our friend Floyd Schultz's house, and during that jam session I just grabbed anything and everything from around the house that was there, and I had some brushes with me. And so we had a blast playing all together up there. And a couple weeks later, there was a show in Montpelier
And we missed
at the
someone
Barry Opera
couldn't
House,
come.
and somebody couldn't come. And so I sat in with just all of my junk literally on the floor around me, and I was just sitting down there banging away and having a great time. And then eventually it just kind of, I put the cardboard box between my knees and then started duct taping things, and then graduated to Velcro, and then it just needed something to carry it all in, so I got a suitcase from Goodwill, and it just kind of grew.
And it fit into this whole idea of not taking the whole thing too seriously. Like it was very organic. And then we made the first album, remember, which we called kind of our breakup album, which was Cocktail Swing, which was stereo ukulele, Drumship Enterprise.
And that's
Andrew,
when we met
myself.
Anna came and
I
sang
was
some
gonna say,
harmonies
let's
on
talk
that.
about how
Yeah.
That we
Anna
just
got
met him
involved.
then.
We had just met him, and I had met you through Steve songs.
Right. I was starting to work in children's music a lot at that point. I was kind of fluctuating between a kind of a hard rock 90s band in the Boston area and making children's music, which makes sense in some way that I have yet to understand. But because of our friend Steve that I was working with, who knew Scott, I met these guys, and it was kind of at that point for me, I was on the young side. But meeting these guys and playing music with them, it was the first time that I really felt like I could really, hope I'm not offending anybody when I say this, but the feeling of trust that existed between them, that I could, that I knew it was just a good place to be, a good mindset, a good vibe. Mm-hmm. And then I told my, not yet, but soon to be wife, Polly, about it. And she said, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing those guys up in, I think, Bellows Falls." She had seen them perform in it, and she had thought at the time, she had seen the show with her mom, and she said, "Wow, they seem like really nice people. Kind of people that I'd love to get to know someday." And then, just kind of.
I remember talking to you, Ronnie, and you telling me, I think we found him. Because there was this period of uncertainty where it was sort of like, are you guys a band? Are you not a band? Are you
Could you get it together?
What's going on here?
You were very patient with us, yes.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was, and it's lasted.
And here we are.
It's incredible.
And it was interesting too, because part of the, we were coming from a bluegrass. I mean, we were newgrass or whatever you want to call it, but it's a very formulaic, very specified kind of way of being. And the Cocktail Swing album kind of was like this, let's try all sorts of other, kind of novelty, old jazz, whatever, and fun, but was amazing, I think, just the shift for me as a bass player to suddenly have a drummer to work with, and then have Anand's facility, incredible, kind of improv that was added to it. It really felt like we were trying something new that we didn't even imagine we were going to try.
Right.
And it was really exciting. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that the evolution of this band in the context of string bands in the U.S. kind of, we started out playing folk and bluegrass when nobody except for maybe Alison Krauss was doing that. It wasn't something that people were combining in the early 90s as much. Not that no one had done it, and then as we kind of moved through till now, there's just been this incredible explosion of string players in particular, I think largely because of Berkeley and just the way that this sort of roots-based music has exploded, and the way that you guys have also been on top of that curve in a big way has been fascinating to be
I
part
remember,
of.
with Salamander Crossing was always a struggle. A, you had this weird name,
Right.
and B, the bluegrass world was so
Yeah.
closed and
Right.
so straightforward. There just wasn't any room for deviation. I remember
Right.
you guys going to IBMA
Yeah.
Right.
and coming back really disappointed, like, what the hell are we?
Well, we got comments. We did a showcase, and you'd get all the comments back. They'd be rewritten, and some as well. What is it?
This band needs to decide if it's a folk band or a bluegrass band.
Yeah, that was the one.
And
That
we
was
were like,
great.
yes.
No, we don't.
But
And this is
and
he
now
says,
it's so cracked open. It's really exciting. But also interestingly, I think our band then and now is so song based, and that has also been a thing that set us apart. Like we're arrangement wise, in terms of we've focused a little more, I think, in the last couple decades on our songwriting, and again, that's also become the norm. But in the beginning, in particular, there was, especially in the bluegrass world, there was so much waiting to solo. That was sort of how a lot of those bands felt. Alison Krauss was always an outlier then as well. And another band that I loved so much then was the Blood Oranges, which was a local Pioneer Valley band. Was a big inspiration to me. But so that's been another thing I think has remained.
You guys have always
solid.
been great song finders. That's one thing
Yeah.
that's consistent through the whole
Yeah.
history of the band.
yeah, it's kind of more than half the battle.
Yeah.
I think with any musical act is repertoire. A lot of people don't think about it too much, but
And interestingly, just to go out on a limb here, I think I would say maybe 15 years ago, I went through a breast cancer period, and so that kind of reshaped. We all went through having kids, reshaped the presence that music had in our lives, and the role that being in the band and touring served for us. It was a real lifeline in a lot of ways. And at one point, I remember in this kind of burgeoning of string bands, we had a conversation. You guys remember we had a conversation about what it is that makes us any different from any other string band out there right now. And so we had a long talk about that, and we ended up coming back to kind of what Anand said when he spoke, which was this idea of the connection that we have and the trust that we have and the consistency of audience response over the years, that somehow coming to our shows and being a part of our shows was good medicine, that it actually was healing and uplifting. And so it was really good to pause and kind of recenter in that place. And I think that affected a lot of what we did after that with Some Bright Morning and kind of some of the work we did with the American Spiritual Program. And it was just a way of, regrounding why are we doing this, and,
Right.
and what matters about it to us.
Yeah.
It's almost like music became more of a service as opposed to a performance. It was less about us and more about how can we create the space where people can be in community and have their hearts open.
Yeah.
And so it's a
and all that started out of
shift.
a couple things, but I think mainly after your during your breast cancer period, it kind of showed itself to be real lifesaver, and it was intense to be going through that. We had to cancel all the gigs every other week for her chemo, and that was certainly a period where like, is this going to keep going? How do we get through this?
Yeah.
And after that, you begin to feel like, okay, well, music's not so much of a career or kind of an ego project. It's gospel. It's something that gets you through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've always loved about this band is the number of times that people have come up to me or to us after a show and just said something along the lines of, I was feeling really bad today, and now I feel great. And it had nothing. Wasn't so much about like you guys are great or that was such an amazing experience. It's just I feel better now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sums it up.
It does sum it up. That's what more could you ask for than to be able to bring joy to people?
Well, and we feel better after the show.
Oh, yeah.
Bring joy to everyone, including yourself.
I tell those people, no, you don't understand. It's all about us.
Well, and also I think, having been together this long, there's this, it's been amazing to watch everybody's kids grow up and watch us go through these different phases of life and having to have patience for wherever anybody is and in a particular moment. I feel like that has been a big reason. I think keeping this band together is the biggest musical achievement of my life, of our lives. At least that's how I feel personally. You know, Andrew, remember that story about when we finally had a kid and what I said to you?
That was a great moment. 'Cause I'd had 2 kids before anyone else had, and Ronnie would say, "Oh, bring them along to the show or something." I'm like, no.
And then we were taking you away from them all the time on tour.
No, and it was
hard.
I've had a lot of time to reflect on it, you know, now in the middle of this pandemic, but it's been very interesting. But you said, apropos of nothing, she called me and said, "I'm sorry."
Once we had our baby, I was like, Andrew, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing juggle, you know, and I don't know if a lot of people who aren't musicians know that. I think one of the things that's great about this band or any band that aren't road warriors is you have something to sing about. That's not, you know, it's not about being on the road. It's, you know, you have a depth of experience. Having the music in your life rather than being your life is a big difference, really big difference.
All right, guys, one more question. Future plans.
What is this thing you call plans?
What is this thing you call future? Well, planning to get to next week.
Exactly.
And then see where we are, I think.
Anand's going to design a mask that has a built-in microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think about that first gig back, that first real gig, like what you want that to be?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question.
We had one experience of playing on a big outdoor stage to a field full of cars.
Not the same thing.
Not the same
I'm
thing.
thinking that
You didn't get a lot back.
if we do that, except take the cars away and replace them with people, I'd be into that.
Getting back to live performance after this pandemic is going to be so nice.
Talk about joy. You're going to be amping up that joy several levels just by being there.
Yeah. Right now, I think we're pedaling, kind of thinking, what can we do in the mold that we've been in? You know, could we do a little recording? There's some amazing new songs. Anand's written some beautiful stuff recently. As you know, we've always been slow collectors of songs and slow. We were like the once every 2-3 years recording band. So we are in that collection process, and where we take it from here, I think we have to wait and see.
But we miss the people.
Yeah, we
miss just seeing people out there, the promoters, the soundmen,
the other bands.
It's a great life. And so, you know, it'd be hard not to get back to that soon. And it's like, it's juice for us. You know, for me, I've been missing the juice.
And you know what else? I think a lot about the music. I think this is true for all of us, that you can work in a lot of other different kinds of jobs, but when you're up on stage or in a rehearsal, and there's a way in which being a musician makes you use every cell in your body and your brain. Like, you have to use all of who you are. You can't leave anything out. And you're kind of using the best of who you are. So having an outlet for that is such a gift. And I'll just, to give you guys props too, to have a label that supports the whole musician is something we don't take for granted.
Well, thank you, and thank you for 25 years, guys.
Thank you.
Here's
It's
to
so cool
25
to
more.
have that connection like through the entire history of the label.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Well, it's an honor to
see
have
you in
it.
2045.
it's good.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
Let it go, let it go, let it go, go, go. Let your sword of vengeance rest. your sword of vengeance rest. To the blind, lead the blind. Don't be cruel to be kind. 'Cause only will your house be blessed. Only then will your house be blessed. Only then will your house be blessed.
Well, we were thinking about trying to come up with songs from all our different albums, and this one is the title track to Big Old Life, 2007.
What's it called?
20 years. No, Andrew, 30 years.
30.
Ah,
Whoa.
1, 2, 3.
Glass half empty, glass half full. Depends on the day, depends on the fool who is asking. And the fool who replies, you're gonna drink it up anyway. Doesn't really matter what you say. Raise your cup to another day in this big old life. Door wide open, door closed down. Depends on the moon and it depends on the cloud in your head. Waving only those signs. Skipping wherefores and should we head straight for the exit, please. Step onto the path you made in this big old life. The sun comes up, the sun goes down on every small forgotten town, shining on every soul, spilling light in every dark hole. There ain't a thing that you gotta do to let that sun shine down on you. Step right into this big old life. Well, love me tender, love me not. Depends on the flower, depends on the heart plucking petal. And the mirror inside. Are you ready to rise and shine? Are you ready to say, be mine? If you are, then let's take a ride in this big old life. Well, are you ready to rise and shine? Are you ready to say, be mine? If you are, then let's take a ride in this big old life. If you are, then let's take a ride in this big old life.
All right.
All right.
oh, we got.
You might need to explain the song a little bit.
Ah, yeah.
Just a wee bit.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a song that I wrote after I had the great good fortune to go to Hawaii, and I learned the story of how the guitar got to Hawaii, which is an interesting one. It involves it basically involved Mexican cowboys back in the year around 1800 were hired by the Hawaiians to come out and help them ranch, to learn how to herd cattle, because English sea captains kept leaving cattle on the islands, and so these Mexican cowboys got on a boat, sailed 2,500 miles out into the ocean with people whose language they didn't speak, spent a few years learning how to, or teaching the Hawaiians how to ranch, and also taught them how to play the guitar, and that's where the guitar came into contact with Hawaii. But I thought about what it would be like to be on one of those boats, and wrote this song, and I still can't decide whether it's a song about going there or leaving there, but it's also just a song about migration, about living somewhere far away from where you were born, which is true for me and lots of other people as well. So this is called So Far From Home.
I don't know what I'll find when I reach the other side of this ocean. My fate is tied to a line sinking into blue. There's no country for me, just the home of my heart and devotion. So far from home, must I leave my love and go alone? Well, I was born somewhere, I didn't stay there long. All I have is a taste of the air of the place in my mind. I was born on the wind, like a seed, like a note in a song. So far from home, the wind can leave you dry as bone. So far I have been willing to go, no looking behind. I don't know what I'll find. Well, some people say paradise is waiting out there for us. Yes, and some people steer by the stars across the sea. I say if we are blessed, we will rest in the arms that care for us. So far from home, to learn what it is I've always known. so far, and so far from home. I'm so far, I'm so far from home. I'm so far, I'm so far from home. I'm so far, I'm so far from home.
Well, this is one that we have been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Starting out in Ohio, Cuyahoga Valley National Forest,
Akron.
Akron.
That seems like a really long time ago.
It really was.
My child was 2,
and he's now
16.
That's how long ago it was.
The story of the song is that we ended up singing it in a hotel lobby with a hotel check-in clerk who was a gospel singer, and just picked up song with us in the lobby at midnight. And I think we told this story for 20 years because it is why we make music, right? Like, it's getting people to sing. It's having things happen in unexpected times and places, not just on stage. So anyway, I know we're streaming, but you know this song, so sing along.
Oh, one fine morning, when this life is over, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away. Oh, glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. When the shadows of this life have flown, I'll fly away. Like a bird, all the prison walls have flown, I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away. Oh, glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away. Oh, glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away. Oh, glory,
Yeah.
Of course, the image I have is like my mom dancing in front of Elmer's.
Yes.
We played it in front of Elmer's General Store,
Oh man.
and that's like a key, you know. Yeah.
We should-
Sometimes songs just get imprinted to a visual.
All right. Here's a tune that's written by our friend Joe Craven, who lives in California. Plays all these instruments at the same time.
Yeah.
And he took an old bluegrass tune called Hear Jerusalem Moan and put some good, solid, hippie California nature-loving lyrics to it.
Best
Me
kind.
hugging, Volvo driving,
Best
latte
kind.
sipping lyrics.
Yeah. Are they socialist lyrics?
Absolutely.
Gotta be.
Ready?
Think of life, there's a rhythm and a ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, well, I got a home inside my soul. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, I know I'll live there forevermore. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, think of life, there's a rhythm and a ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, spiritual people are a thinking people. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, their minds share, their hearts asleep. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, I think the life is a rhythm and a ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, Mother Earth, she's a mighty fine teacher. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, make the light is a rhythm and a ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
I got a leg for the rhythm and a mouth for the song.
Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh,
Let the music take a spirit, it won't be long.
can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh,
Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh, can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh.
make the light is a rhythm.
Take the light, there's a rhythm and a ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh,
Make the light is a rhythm
and a ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem? Oh.
Make the light is a rhythm and a
Ringing in my soul, and my soul set free. Can't you hear Jerusalem?
Here's another old one. This is one that I wrote a long time ago.
It's a spooky one.
This is a song. This is a song about mortality.
Which has been a theme.
It's been a theme for us, really. And it's oddly enough, it's my dad's favorite song. He always says, Anand, play What's That? That's my impression of my dad. If you're watching this, that's my impression of you. And yeah, the song is called What's That? And it goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
What's that buzzing in my ears? Whose is the siren call? The melody so pure and piercing out behind the wall. What's that motion of the mind? That endless rise and fall? A notion we are meant to find, a reason for it all. So soon, so soon, we'll leave the room. Outside the door, won't matter anymore. Won't matter anymore. What's that game we used to play? That song we used to sing? Seems like only yesterday we didn't know a thing. When will we discover what we all forgot to bring? The case is open, the case is shut, the bell's about to ring. So soon, so soon, we'll leave the room. Outside the door, it won't matter anymore. It won't matter anymore. Tick-tock, the time scuttles like a dock rat hustling after he's made his play. Click-clack goes the drummer in the back of your mind, but you don't know what to say. Bump, bump, your heart jumps every time it tries to pump. It could take your breath away. I said, 1, 2, 3, come and dance with me to the number of our days. Yeah. Such so light and cold. Who knows how the ending goes to a story never told? The crows have called the numbers out for silver and for gold, and there ain't no more room for doubt about the cards I hold. So soon, so soon, we'll leave the room. Outside so it won't matter, no it won't matter. So soon, so soon, we'll leave the room. Outside the door, it won't matter anymore. It won't matter anymore. What's that? What's that? What's that?
Yeah. All right.
You know, we played that song for I don't know how many years before I realized that tickling your toes line was about my ghost story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly
I liked the
what it
song
was about.
so much more after I found that out.
Of course you did.
Well, we were in Gold Hill, Colorado, and we got put up at the Gold Hill Inn, which is an old mining town, and kind of surprisingly, the bar was just packed. It's a very popular place. People drive up from Boulder, and it's really literally a mining town that hasn't changed. All the old houses are there. And he took us up, put us in our bedrooms, and it was, like, you walked into the hotel part of it, and the hair on the back of your neck just, it was like, something's up here. I don't know, I felt creeped out from the get-go. And I could not sleep. Tossing and turning. Finally fell asleep, and then I woke up to someone pulling my pinky toe. And it freaked me out. Turned the light on, and I just, what was that? Literally.
What's that?
Boom.
Yeah. So the next morning, the guy said, "Oh yeah, everyone who sleeps here." It's like you could have prepared us. Yeah, serious. It was pretty intense.
It was the manager of the hotel.
It was the manager.
Yeah. That was in there, and there's also there's a lyric about the crows calling the numbers out, but that's actually adapted from the Magpie song.
Yeah.
Which also in Colorado, I had this weird experience of walking through the hills with my wife Polly outside of Boulder, and she was teaching me that song, the Magpie, all about the sort of mystical powers of the magpie. And then we were attacked by a magpie.
Get out, really?
That's our song.
Like literally while we were in the middle of singing this song, and it just came swooping at us. It was crazy.
Magpie wanted royalties.
Yeah.
Or
So
not to take
singing
its
that
name
song.
in vain or something.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Something about Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we miss Colorado.
Yeah.
We miss touring.
Yeah.
COVID, man.
Oh, is that why we haven't been?
My 16-year-old, who now plays guitar, his name's Quinn, and has been on the road with us since he was 5 weeks old. And we, took him everywhere. It's like you just put him in the sling and go. And then, he got older and he went to school, and now he's in high school. And so we slowed down the touring quite a bit while we all had sort of older school-age kids. And now he says, "Mom, when are you gonna go all over the country again? I really can't remember that." But he has like memories of, sort of new places,
Yeah.
being strolled or in his stroller around.
It's all
kinds
in
of
there somewhere.
Playgrounds, yeah.
We used to tour so much that I never emptied my toiletry kit. Like, it's just hanging on the wall in the bathroom.
Ours is still hanging in the shower.
And it's just like, that's what I use to find my toothbrush. It's just hanging there. I never unpack it. I think it's time to unpack it.
No,
There's a
that
song
would be
there.
given in.
Yeah, that might be a
given
bad
it.
move. Well, this one has a good story because we sang this at in
At the
DC,
Kennedy Center.
At the Kennedy Center, Millennial Stage. And of course, being DC, there was a Swedish ambassador in the audience, right? Was he from Sweden? He came
Yeah.
up to you? Came up to you and he says, why not Sweden? He was very upset it was Finland.
Well, and it's just a metaphor for a cold, distant place that I've never been. So,
Yeah.
wouldn't have? I don't think it would have. I
Sweden
don't think it
did-
would have.
I think you said it doesn't scan. Sweden doesn't scan.
Is it raining in Finland? I wanna know. 'Cause here in November it's covered up with snow. And I wanna see you if you're ever coming home. Is there crying in Finland? I wanna know. 'Cause here out my window, a girl has lost her boy. It's down in the alley, and she's afraid. understand this heartache looking inland. I can see some solid ground, and often I question why I am hanging around. So tell me, is there hope left in Finland? When I'm out across the northern sea, do you ever think of me all dressed up in so gentle on your mind? I'm drifting far away from Finland, away from you. So tell me, is there hope left in Finland?
Oldie but a
I don't
goodie.
think we played that in like 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute or two.
Yeah, right? That's what Jim said.
If we ever want to do a reunion tour, and that we kind of know what it feels like now. The trappings.
Here's a tune from Cocktail Swing.
What?
She did not want to drive, she did not want to fly, she did not want to wait for a bus to come by, she did not want to hassle, she did not want to hurry, she did not want to know what it cost, don't worry. Baby took a limo to Memphis, seemed like the thing to do. Baby took a limo to Memphis, she did it 'cause she wanted to. She was not looking back, but she was looking good. She was not in the mood to be knocking on wood. She knows what she wants and she knows how to get it. Oh, she knows what it takes just to do it, don't regret it. Baby took a limo to Memphis, seemed like the thing to do. Baby took a limo to Memphis. Oh, she did it 'cause she wanted to. The shortest distance between two towns is riding in a limo with the windows down. So don't ask why she's going, she might let you know. Don't ask when she's coming back, 'cause she don't. Don't let her fool you, she's nobody's fool. You know she knows what's tacky and she knows what's cool. My baby took a limo to Memphis, seemed like the thing to do, yeah. Baby took a limo to Memphis. Oh, she did it 'cause she wanted to. My baby took a limo. Oh, you know she took a limo. Baby. Took a limo. She took a limo to Memphis. Yeah, she did.
Nice, Scott.
Yeah, nice groove at the end there. It's happening.
Wow, that's wacky.
Are those
was
new
great.
cans?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
This one is so thrilling.
Scott,
This
I
one-
just want you all to know, Scott got new cans for this video.
I had to suffer for them. I mean,
You had to eat,
You had to eat all
that
those-
candy? Yeah, I see.
hazelnut sticks.
The hazelnuts sound great.
Oh.
I know just where to stand. I don't care, I don't mind if you leave me behind. 'Cause life is short, life is tough, and it's never quite enough. Well, life is short, life is tough, and it's never quite enough.
Fly to me, oh little sparrow, hiding in your willow tree. Come and tell me all your sorrow. Won't you lay it all down for me? 'Cause I can see one lonely raindrop falling from your branch so high. Fly to me, oh little sparrow. It hurts me so to see you cry. 'Cause if I'm the one who has done you wrong, won't you tell me, come on and tell me. I'll never let you be alone unless you want to be. So won't you fly to me? And here's a secret, little sparrow. There's something I just can't deny. I need you so much more than you know. Won't you fly to me and let me tell you so? See, I'm holding out my hand. Inside is all my heart for you, sweetheart. Don't you understand? There is a secret, little sparrow. There's something I just can't deny. I need you so much more than you know. Won't you fly to me and let me tell you so? Won't you fly, 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 let me tell you so?
All right.
Okay. So the story of this song is it was written right after Scott's grandmother, Elizabeth May, passed away in 1996 at the age of 97. And this song, the lyrics to this song are written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. It is a really famous poem, and it was one of her favorite poems. And she was in hospice care at the end of her life, and the first line of this poem was the last thing she said. And it really moved me. And I come from, my early musical history was as an Episcopalian chorister, so this came out a lot like an Episcopalian hymn. But this song has traveled farther around the world than I have in my lifetime, and that's one of the coolest things about writing a song. Sometimes it has a life of its own, and it has sent me stories from so many places and so many people. So here's Crossing the Bar. And we should send this out to all the families that have been struggling with losing loved ones to COVID in this last year.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me. May there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. May there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam. When that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Turns again home. Turns again home. When that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. When I embark. When I embark. May there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
We should also, I mean, it's the end, but it's just great to be here in your backyard,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 17 years of cicada life before you moved into Northampton and started a venue and a record label that has sustained this entire community for 25 years and has sustained us as musicians, not just from all your support and your belief in the power of music, but just being part of a musical family, a record label that is so grassroots. And when we call and you pick up the phone, it's really, you cannot invent how amazing that is. So thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Crazy, huh? This is Farewell Angelina. All right.
Farewell, Angelina, bells of the crown. The sky is on fire, and I must leave. Well, the jacks and the queens have to sing the courtyard, and 52 gypsies now file past the guards in the space where the ace and the deuce once red wine. Farewell, Angelina, the sky is falling, and I'll see you in a see the cross-eyed pirates sitting perched on the sun, and they're shooting their tin cans with sawed-off shotguns. And the neighbors, they clap and they cheer with each blast. And farewell, Angelina, the sky's changing color, and I must leave fast. King Kong, little elves on rooftops, they dance Valentino type tangos while the makeup man's hands shut the eyes of the dead, not to embarrass anyone. Farewell, Angelina, the sky is embarrassed, and I must go. The machine guns are roaring, the puppets heave rocks, and the fiends nail their time bombs to the hands of the clock. Call me any name you like, I will never deny it. Farewell, Angelina. The sky is erupting. I must go where it's quiet.
I thought I saw something flying past my head.
Scott's brushes were just exploding. They went bald all at once.
It's because you tried to brush your beard with
I
it.
know, exactly.
I guess that's the last one.